all the way down to Colorado Springs. So this is going to continue with us for a while. It's a huge storm, and it's going to take a while for it to spin out of here, but it will start to gradually get better late tonight. Tomorrow morning's will be still a tough go as far as driving conditions around the area, but we'll start digging out tomorrow by mid to late morning.
All right, so a lot to get there. I think the big question that I have sitting in my very snow-whipped backyard as the totals keep piling up and I have to keep going out to shovel, when is this all going to end? When is this storm going to move out of Denver, Colorado, just in general?
Okay, I'll give you another little set of graphics here just to show you what's going to happen tonight here. So this is a look at the map starting at 6 o'clock tonight. Still see the bands of heavy snow, but watch what happens by the time we get to midnight. Snow's diminishing. It's not stopped, but it's diminishing, but it's still very windy, and so there'll be a lot of difficult travel. But by morning, it's windy, cold, still some snow showers continue in the mountains. On the plains, not much. Some flurries as the low, the center of the core, that big red L on the map, will have moved out into west central Kansas. As it moves away, conditions will start to improve. So still bad through the evening hours, getting better starting midnight-ish, but still tough through 6 a.m., 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. But by noon tomorrow, conditions will be way, way better.
So we've obviously been talking about this storm as it approached. Friday happened. People said, where's the snow? Saturday morning happened. People said, where's the snow? Well, clearly it's here now. Did this storm turn out to be what we expected?
Yeah, I mean, it threw us a couple little things here where, it came in a little later, but it's about doing what it's expected. I think I kind of look at it here that if you kick the winning field goal, is it a question of, well, it didn't go right down the middle, but it came in just a little bit inside of one of the uprights? It's still an accurate kick. And so this forecast might have thrown us a couple little things starting a little later, a little heavier up in Wyoming, but it ended up, we called for it days ago to be a big storm. It has indeed been a big storm. And I have to say, for the most part, if I was a kicker from 55 yards out and I got it inside the upright, I think I nailed the kick.
I think that that all of us that have been out here in it, all of our Denver 7 hardworking reporters, photographers, everybody that's had to be out in it would definitely agree with you. Thank you for giving us that heads up. And of course, we want to remind everybody watching right now that while we're giving you a live forecast, Mike has a live forecast. We're doing live cut-ins on Denver 7, on Local 3, our sister station. We also have live coverage on our Denver 7 channel for your favorite streaming device. And on there's a 24/7 local weather stream. So if all you want is the weather, just find Denver 7 on your streaming device, click on that weather stream. You have the live radar, you have the updated totals, as really as much as we can give you. We're trying to give you that in order to stay safe. So Mike, a big part of this, as we move into tomorrow and we go from there, you mentioned the biggest totals, but what are some of the big numbers that you're seeing so far, as we're seeing some people here live on Facebook chime in on just how much snow they have in their neighborhood?
Well, it starts to get trickier now, Jason, because it's blowing sideways so much. I think I probably have about 16 or 18. I live in southeast Aurora, not far from Smoky Hill Road, but it's blowing sideways. It's hard to tell. A lot of the reports that we're seeing in the metro area, anywhere between 15 and about 20 inches of snow. I see some other comments coming in here that coming in the upper teens to low 20s as far as inches, and seeing some reports closer to the foothills of 2 to 3 feet. And of course, that 36-inch total I've seen at Nederland. I think we'll see some that get closer to 48. But I'd say over the metro area, 20 has been a pretty good number. Certainly at DIA, it was a little over 19 inches. So it's one of the heaviest snowfalls ever out there. Now, obviously, the official snow reporting station has changed with the airport from Stapleton out to DIA. We still take observations out at the old site where the National Weather Service office was out near the old Stapleton Airport. But yeah, 12 to 24 has been a pretty good number, and double that in some of the foothill locations, I think, by the time we're all said and done. Great moisture. The water content on this is, if you've tried to shovel, it's heavy, it's wet, and that's going to be so helpful because we've been in a drought.
And I've definitely been out. I think I've lost track officially of how many times I've gone out and officially shoveled the sidewalks. Quick reminder for all of those of you watching: yes, the totals are high, but Denver has told us as soon as the flakes stop, that's when the clock starts ticking. You still have to clear out those sidewalks 24 hours later. So,
There you
Mike,
go.
you mentioned how this one might stack up in terms of totals. How does it going to stack up historically?
It already, thanks to the fact that the numbers out at DIA, there'll be official snow total about 20 inches, maybe might end up being close to 24 since it's still going to snow for a few hours. That will be one of the all time heaviest March snowfalls. Uh, our all time heaviest snowfall for any storm was back, I think it was in, I want to say 1911, might be 1913. I barely remember it because I was fairly young. It was about 46 inches of snow in a storm. And of course, the one that we had March of 2003 ended up being just shy of 32 inches of snow. So certainly it will be in the not quite on the Mount Rushmore, but probably in the starting five of heaviest snowfalls.
And when it brings with it a blizzard warning, that's not necessarily the snowfall and the amount of snow, but a lot of other things that go into it. I know this very well, being from Buffalo, growing up and dealing with the occasional blizzard warning. So just remind our viewers out there, what makes it a blizzard warning, and why is that so much more treacherous when we're telling people to stay home than just the fact that a lot of snow is falling?
It's wind and visibility. You can actually have a blizzard when there's no snow falling out of the sky, but just a ground blizzard of blowing snow. So it's a wind of 35 miles per hour and visibility below a quarter of a mile due to the blowing snow. So in this case, we not only have the heavy snow falling, we have the very strong winds. And of course, blizzard came from blitz, which is the German word for lightning. And the early settlers on the northern plains were stunned at how quickly and severely some of these storms came in, and that's where the term blizzard came from German immigrants.
So when we're talking about this storm itself, because it came in slowly, then it started to drop, then we started to see that accumulation. Because we're talking about later into today, even early tomorrow, for this thing to wind down, where are we as far as in that timeline? Are we halfway done? Are we already past the peak of this storm? Kind of where on that timeline are we?
We're past the peak, so but we've made the second turn coming into the back straightaway. We'll make the third turn probably by about 9 o'clock tonight, and the fourth turn by midnight, and be coming in toward the finish line toward morning. But because it's a slow track, it'll take us a while.
So are we talking about more snow inches per hour, as we're seeing some people comment down there on Facebook, and a couple more trips out to shovel the sidewalk?
Yeah, yeah. I'd say still accumulating snow through midnight. Might come in a little less than an inch an hour, so we could say perhaps another 3 to 5 inches of snow on top of what's already fallen. Of course, again, it'll be blowing sideways, and then the winds will gradually come down after that. But really, even tomorrow morning is going to be pretty tough. I know a lot of districts are on break, which makes it easier for them, and of course we've mastered this home learning. Well, I would say mastered. We certainly are better at it than we used to be. So there are a lot of avenues for people to be able to do their work remotely for tomorrow, and maybe when we're all said and done with COVID-19, maybe that'll be one of the things that will be a positive out of this past year.
Well, of course, we're live here on Facebook, so we do want to answer some questions. This one just coming in. What's happening at the airport? I had read a report earlier that they had closed the runways. Obviously, blizzard warnings. Even if the totals aren't high there, that could affect a lot of what's going out there at DIA.
Oh yeah, the visibility is terrible out there. I mean, it's just blowing across the flat plain, and there's still plenty of snow that's going to come in there for several more hours. So I'm not privy to exactly what's going on in terms of flights or anything like that, but my guess is that it's a mess.
And of course, we will have the latest on Denver 7 live at 5 o'clock, including some issues out at the airport. Mike, I wanted to ask you, because as we were preparing for this storm, we talked about the low and the upslope winds and all of that. Usually, when just a rainstorm comes in and it goes from west to east, the mountains, it's going to dry out. We're going to get through the foothills, we'll get through the metro, then out through the plains. This storm has been moving and swirling. So is it going to clear up that easily from west to east, or how are we going to see this clearing when eventually it does happen?
Once the low gets a little farther east of us into west central Kansas, we'll see those winds drop off fairly well, and things will get a lot better early tomorrow. But for now, through the evening, just batten down, stay home. If you're watching tonight on Channel 7, of course, we'll have our full team coverage at 5 o'clock. And then what we're going to do throughout the evening between Stacey Donaldson and myself is we're finding the commercial breaks that we can use to bring you little 2-minute updates all evening long. You won't miss any of your programming on Channel 7, but our sponsors have been kind enough during this to allow us to use some of their time to bring everybody updates without interrupting the regular broadcast.
Not out of the woods yet, but we are past the peak. As Mike Nelson said, we are rounding third on this storm. So for the rest of the day, it's a Sunday, it's a weekend. Just kind of stay at home. That's been the message from local and state officials all day. It's been what we've been telling you. Yes, it's a little bit delayed, but this is the storm that we've been telling you about. Mike, before we let you go, I just wanted to give you that opportunity to take the victory lap, if you will, and just tell us this is what you said was going to happen.
Well, we've been watching this storm. There's actually a chart that I posted on the 1st of March, and I don't normally put a lot of faith into forecasts that are 324 hours out, but this particular upper level pattern I saw then and just posted beware the Ides of March. And of course, that's tomorrow. So we've kind of had a hint that something was coming up and really started to see it early in the week. But, a storm like this forms other side of the world. It's a turbulent eddy, if you will, a wave that we watch and we track. We try and fine tune that as it's coming across the ocean. We don't have a lot of data out there. We, of course, have satellite imagery, but we don't have all the surface obs that we do on land. So it's not really until it gets into California and Oregon that we get a better handle on it, which was Wednesday. And then we tend to fine tune that track as it moves in. When people say, well, weather is an inexact science, weather forecasting, that's not true. It is a very exact science. It follows all of the laws of physics. It's just an exceedingly complicated science. And so to try and figure out in advance all the subtleties of what the atmosphere is going to do takes a supercomputer. And even with a supercomputer, there are some things we just cannot perfectly model in the way the atmosphere behaves. So we use that as guidance. And then within that guidance, we try and fine tune the forecast. And hopefully, what we presented to everybody in the last few days has been helpful. I know there was some frustration yesterday as the storm was a little late, but clearly it got here.
Mike's a humble guy. I'll boil down what he just was saying into I told you so. Mike Nelson, chief meteorologist. He's been working all weekend. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for what you're doing. He's going to be on live along with meteorologist Stacey Donaldson, our whole team of reporters spread out all across the state to bring you the latest. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes on Denver 7 News at 5. Then those cut-ins throughout the evening. Mike, thank you so much for the time. Everybody out there, stay safe, stay home, stay warm. We'll get through it. I think there's 60s on the 7-day.
There are. Okay, thanks, Jason. Great work. And to all of our staff, thank you for all the wonderful hard work.